18, discussion and first reading of proposed new board policy GCCA, GDCA, paid parental leave, and Exhibit F.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board, and our community. As Dr. Turner comes to the lectern, we bring for first reading and discussion a new board policy on paid parental leave. We talked about this in the superintendent's report at our last board meeting, and this is on May 22nd. We know that the state law requires that we have a policy on the books on June 26th, and so we're planning first reading tonight with second reading on the 26th. And so to give kind of an outline of that, Dr. Turner will present, and then we have Ms. Kathy Mahoney, who our attorney, who helped us in developing our options for this policy. So Dr. Turner.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Ross. I stand before you this evening to present proposed policy GCCA, GDCA, paid parental leave. On May 12, 2023, Governor McMaster signed into law the Paid Parental Leave Act for eligible school district employees. This act provides 6 weeks or 2 weeks of paid parental leave upon the occurrence of a qualifying event. Qualifying events include birth, foster, or adoption of a child. The policy outlines that eligible district employees who are employed by the district and who give birth are entitled to receive 6 weeks of paid parental leave upon the occurrence of a qualifying event. Other eligible district employees who do not give birth are entitled to receive 2 weeks of parental paid leave upon the occurrence of a qualifying event. As it relates to the adoption of a child, eligible district employees who are primarily responsible for furnishing the care and nurture of the child are entitled to 6 weeks of paid parental leave upon the occurrence of a qualifying event. Eligible district employees who are employed by the district who are not primarily responsible for furnishing the care and nurture of the child are entitled to 2 weeks of paid parental leave upon the occurrence of a qualifying event. As Dr. Ross stated, this new law has an effective date of June 26, 2023. Today's first reading serves as an opportunity for the board to finalize which option under the law to provide to eligible employees with regard to when the entitlement to leave ends. The first option presented to you is that as the employee may continue their period of paid parental leave in the subsequent contractual term, provided the employee remains an eligible district employee. The second option is that the employee's period of paid parental leave will not continue in the subsequent contractual term. Administration recommends to the Board of Trustees that the final version, the recommendation, is to approve the first reading of the proposed new board policy GCCA, GDCA, with an effective date of June 26, 2023. The administration also recommends that the final version of the policy allow an eligible district employee's entitlement to leave under this policy to extend beyond their designated term of employment for their contractual term, allowing the employee to continue their period of paid parental leave in subsequent contractual terms, provided the employee remains an eligible district employee. With that recommendation, both Attorney Mahoney and I are available to answer questions that you may have.
And I would just like to say that, I know we talked about it, but it's on our discussion agenda for discussion and first reading, and typically what we have done is what we've tried to do is put discussion under discussion and then the first reading under action. Right. Because this came down so quickly while we were setting our agenda, and it has to be approved by June 26th. That's why we have it on our agenda this way. Just semantics, I just wanted to put that on the record. Do we have any questions for Attorney Mahoney or Dr. Turner? Ms. Huddle.
Can you give us an example? Because the wording is, I
I
realize,
will,
kind
I
of
will.
confusing.
And y'all fix me if I'm incorrect. The typical example we use is a teacher is a 190-day contract, and we'll take a classroom teacher, that's 190. And the last day of that contract this year was June 2nd, correct? So if the event or the qualifying event happened on June 1st, meaning the pregnancy, in one of the options, they would get to leave for 1 day, June 2nd. Now, if they had the baby on June 3rd, they would get 6 weeks because it was outside of that contract. So our recommendation is that it can be between contracts. So you don't penalize someone who had the qualifying event, a week before school went out. Does that make sense?
I guess I'm trying to understand, like, can you, like, include the pay in there? So, like, if it's a 190-day employee and the qualifying event took place in the summer,
That's correct.
when they normally wouldn't get paid anyway, are you saying they would get paid?
They would get paid. They would, so according to,
On both options?
well,
So if I'm understanding your question correctly, if the baby's born during the summer months when you're between contracts, you would get the full 6 weeks, but it would start the first day you report back to work. So you wouldn't be paid during the summer when you're not under contract, but your 6-week entitlement of paid leave would begin whenever teachers
So
report.
the baby, when it's like 2 months old or
So,
whatever?
for example, like if you, and like back in my situation where if you have a baby and you're not being, like, so you have a baby in July, and there's 6 weeks between July when you are at home and when you go back to school, right? So if you start the leave in August, then you get another 6 weeks. So you actually get maternity leave. You're not getting maternity leave in the summer, from what I'm understanding.
So is that the way both options would work, or only one of the options?
So the law provides that school districts, school boards may have a policy which allows it to extend from one contract to the next. So if you don't choose the sentence, we suggested one of two options. One is that it does not extend from one term to the next. So if you have the baby May 15th, you would get 2 weeks of paid leave, and that would end it because you chose the option not to extend it from one contract to another.
Right.
If you choose to extend it from one contract to another, all you're saying is you still get your 6 weeks, but it might be that 2 falls in May and 4 falls in August. Just like if you had your baby in January, you'd get 4 in January and 2 in February.
Right.
So,
Yeah, just one, do we know what other districts are doing?
Well, they're all making the decision. I
I mean, do
actually
we know,
spoke to
like, have
someone.
they had first reading? Do we know?
I've spoken to someone at the Department of Ed, and I asked this question, and they said that, districts are having the conversation, but I think for teacher satisfaction, they would like to have paid maternity leave. That's why they have this, it's not, to me, like, it's not fair to have a baby in the summer and then not get paid maternity leave, but if you have a baby, like, right at the end or right at the beginning of the school year, you get the 6 weeks off.
Yeah,
That's just
when you
my-
talk about fairness, though, you also have to think about all the teachers are already here that didn't get that, I don't know. Whenever we make a change, you hear from the people that were like, well, I had my baby in the summer, and I don't know.
Right.
It's a
I think
difficult
that's why that
situation.
they enacted this legislation, was because it was causing such a concern with parents. They were trying to, I would assume that the General Assembly was trying to rectify a concern expressed before. Do we have any other thoughts? Sorry.
Yeah, just a real quick comment. I would assume that if we don't extend it to the next contract period, we're going to have a whole lot of people planning and a need for subs in December and January, rather than letting them naturally take its natural course of events.
I don't know how to respond to that one. Right.
Well, the opposite, if we do extend it, nobody's going to have a baby in the summer, right?
I think this is a good clarification to make. if you have a child in the summer, you still get the full 6 weeks.
Right. Yeah, the issue is whether you extend it from one
That's
contract to the
correct.
next.
That's correct.
So any baby in the summer, you would have the full 6 weeks beginning the first day of school.
Yeah.
Okay,
The issue is from the May 15th baby or the May 1st
That's
baby,
right.
do you cut it off when the school year ends, or do you let him finish up whatever was left of the 6 weeks?
so if we do extend it, we probably will have a whole lot of May babies, right? I'm just thinking,
I don't really think that people are like having their family planning, I mean,
but wouldn't that be
relating to
perfect?
this.
You get out, I mean, and then you get the whole summer, and, I mean, I'm just saying.
The extreme, if I could answer this, the extreme example would be if you didn't extend it from one contract term to the next. You literally have the baby May 29th, the last day for teachers is May 31st. You get 2 days of paid leave. And then you would tell that teacher, that's it. So that's really the issue is you just kind of give them the 6 weeks wherever they fall. And it's just state employees, they had the same law that was enacted a year ago. And they had to grapple with what to do with school districts because we have this intervening summer. Because you don't count spring break, you don't count winter break. So those are extra weeks that you get. But again, you're not being paid during those weeks technically. So this is just saying, what do you do with that summertime? Do you cut it off? Because with state employees, you wouldn't because they go year round.
Right.
And that's why they had to add a sentence that says, if school districts want to extend it from term to term, you can. But you can see how you can have various permutations and combinations of leave where you're suddenly HR is saying, now what day was the baby born, and you're getting in arguments, and you don't have the scheduled C-section because of the date. I mean, those types of things. So
Right.
clearly having it go from giving them the full 6 weeks of paid leave that's contemplated from one contract to another does at least clearly establish that you get it regardless of when the actual day falls.
all right, Mr. Satterfield.
I had a question. What if somebody gets the paid leave and they get a supplement for coaching a sport, but they're not there to coach the sport?
That would be no different than when you're on FMLA leave or any other type of leave.
So
That could happen anyways.
they would just get paid either way?
You would get paid whatever you're contracted to do, just as if you're out having surgery, if you're out having a baby, whatever
Okay.
you're out doing.
Okay, that answers that. Thank
You
you.
would, yes.
Paid parental leave is the FMLA, saying the same designation. Ms.
You may have already answered this, but I'm going to kind of peer at Mr. Scully here. Is there a administration's kind of recommendation on
Well,
this?
yeah, it's in here,
It is? Okay.
Yes.
Maybe I just hadn't read that or gotten
Yes,
there. Okay,
yes.
gotcha.
yes. Any more questions? Do I have a motion for the first reading? Mr. Hogan?
I'd like to make the motion that the board approves for the first reading the proposed new board policy GCCA, GDCA, paid parental leave, and completely implement the provisions of the Act effective June 26, 2023.
Keep going.
The administration recommends that the final version of the policy allow ineligible district employees entitlement to leave under this policy to extend beyond their designated term of employment for the contractual term, allowing the employment to continue their period of paid parental leave in subsequent contractual terms, provided the employee remains an eligible district employee. Excuse me.
Do I have a second? Ms. Snipes, I believe we've had the discussion. Do we have any other discussion? I'm going to call for the question. All in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you very much for that somewhat awkward conversation. And I don't see this on here, but I'm going to make up a new 19. Do we have a motion to adjourn? Ms. Snipes?
I make a motion that we adjourn at 10:38.
Do I have a second? Mr. Hogan? All right, any discussion? All right, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? The motion carries 7-0. Thank you very much.